Today is Rockalina's big day. After 50 years, she is for the first time going to experience what a forest floor actually feels like. All right, the moment of truth for our little lady here. She's already burrowing. Look at this. She's already burrowing. All right, so it's been 30 days since we first got Rockalina, and after living on somebody's kitchen floor for nearly 50 years, she's made a lot of progress in the little amount of time that we've had her. Now, in last week's video, I showed you guys that we have been keeping her in a hospital-style enclosure. That's what I call it. But it's time for her to get a major upgrade, and we're really excited about it because we got to get her on a natural-type substrate. We want the rest of her dead skin to start coming off, and being on a more rugged substrate is going to help her with that, and it's also going to help redirect her nails that we recently trimmed because we want them to grow downward so she can tear food apart and be able to dig. So you guys, you're coming with me, we're going to the store, and we're going to pick up some fun things for her. This is one of my favorite things to do. Arts and craft stores will sell these really realistic looking fake plants that are very safe and an awesome option for indoor keeping. So I'm picking out ferns and some other things that would go along with a northeastern or mid-Atlantic type forest because Rockalina is an eastern box turtle and that's where she would naturally be found. All right, now for my favorite part, let's go home and let's design Rockalina's new enclosure. All right, so we got some fun things to put in Rockalina's new enclosure, but let's take a look at her here. Here she is. Full transformation, guys, really. She is really looking awesome. The nails are trimmed back, front and back feet. We worked on her beak. We got it a little bit reshaped. Still work to do there. But one of the most important things is back here, there's no more splitting, cracking, or bleeding in her skin. So there's no more risk of infection. But having her on a more natural substrate is gonna help get the rest of that dead skin off, any of that stuff that needs to come off or wants to come off. And we wanna see her behave as naturally as possible. So what we're gonna do is dress up this awesome enclosure right here, which I've already started working on a little bit. It's huge. She's going to have it all to herself, which is important because this animal has been isolated from any other turtle for 50 years or almost 50 years. So putting her with another turtle, we have no idea what her immune system is like. Box turtles can be carriers of things naturally. So we don't want to mix her with anybody else, at least not for the foreseeable future, because that could send her downhill. Those are things that we just aren't going to be able to figure out simply by going to the veterinarian and getting more blood work done. Plus she's been through enough. So the purpose of this is to give her a mansion pretty much indoors and dress it up appropriately so that it is like an indoor slice of nature for her. And we're going to try to make it as close to a woodland forest as we can. This is a Toad Ranch enclosure. They have done a lot of builds for us in this room. So let me put Rockalina down and give you a little introduction to some of the other ones we've done in here. So this is one of my favorite enclosures that we've done with Toad Ranch, and it's meant to mimic the New Jersey Pine Barrens. So what's gone into this is not just simply the decor or the cage furniture, it's the backdrop too. This is the New Jersey Pine Barrens. So what we did was we took a combination of fake and originally live branches and logs, dressed them up with fake pine needles to try to bring the depth and try to bring the backdrop to life, which is fully panoramic. It's a paludarium, which means it has a water bottom to it with viewing windows, and we've got a combination of spotted turtles, minnows, and there's also a corn snake that lives in here that occupies the more arboreal areas because it's a treetop species, but it can also come down to the land area where the spotted turtles can occupy as well. As an assistant herpetologist, I've done work in the field with these species.
This is exciting. This is exciting right here.
Nothing exciting about this. And they are sympatric. They live together in harmony. So you would be doing work on corn snakes and you would see spotted turtles basking on logs in the vernal pools and marshes right next to where the corns were. So this really turned out nice. We do have some live plants in here. There's duckweed, but the fake plants are awesome because they don't cause any harm to these animals. They don't try to eat them and they look so lifelike that it's the best of both worlds because people think they're real, but you don't actually have to take care of them because they're not. So Again, one of my absolute favorites here, but a lot of these toad ranches really look amazing. And this next one here, really big unit that actually has a nice bookcase on top, is where we keep our Tunisian tortoises, which are one of the smallest of the Greek tortoises. This is a very sensitive species that doesn't do well outdoors in a lot of parts of the United States. So having a unit like this, where you've got the full spectrum lighting, you've got the heat contained properly, and you can kind of create that little bit of a microclimate for them and really pay attention to the parameters inside, helps to keep them stress-free and healthy at all times. So essentially, it's a desert or arid type setting. And again, we did a combination of fake aesthetics and originally live aesthetics with the logs and branches and stuff, and just made sure that the animals have a lot of different hiding areas, and they can do a number of things in here, including even breeding. This one, super awesome. Again, another polydarium where you've got the water and the underwater viewing area and a big canopy with a waterfall. And believe it or not, this water is actually constantly running by an internal filter. This is for a Chinese big-headed turtle. His name is Ego. He hides a lot, but when he comes out, he's always hungry. One of my absolute favorite things about this enclosure is that Casey and I went out again and purposely bought those fake plants from the arts and crafts stores, but then we also utilized some pieces of wood and vines to again tie in that backdrop where there were also living vines on them. So what's happened over time is the fake and the live is intertwined and you can't tell which is which. And it's really coming to life, almost like a jungle canopy. And speaking of that, there is an occupant up there. This is another cohab, and up there is Chiquita. She is our little baby green tree python. And because that species stays up there, it can stay out of the turtle's way and the turtle can stay out of the snake's way. Again, they wouldn't harm each other really, but it works out nice, these kind of cohabs, and I absolutely love seeing that because in nature, a lot of these animals do occur together. This enclosure, one of the first ones that we did, is basically Egypt. This house is the Northern Hemisphere's smallest tortoise species, which is the famous Egyptian tortoise. And these guys are just waking up for the morning here, starting to come out. And this again is catered to their requirements. They have a stone desert substrate. They have mostly fake plants in here, which they leave alone. And if they were to try to bite onto them, they're not going anywhere. And they have plenty of places to hide, including the full spectrum lighting as well as heat. And this is another sensitive, arid species that really wouldn't do well outdoors here except for a very limited period. So they really thrive in an indoor setting like this when it's done well. And these guys are really on the move. But you can also see just how small they are. This is an adult male. So this animal outside, unless it's really protected from predators, is a quick and easy meal for a number of animals. So that's where things like this really come into play and why they benefit the animals so much and how you can really protect them. This one was actually the very first enclosure that we did with Toad Ranch, and this houses little Jabari, who is a USA captive bred and born right here at GST, Bell's Hingeback tortoise. This was originally designed to be a Madagascar habitat. Bell's Hingebacks do come from Africa, which Madagascar is part of. And there's actually a native species of Conyxis or Hingeback tortoise in Madagascar, so we're not too far off here. She's got so many places to hide. She's got a big watering hole, and again, those fake plants, and it really brings things to life. And with having this kind of traction for the animals, it helps to keep their nails in check, keeps their shells nice, smooth, and polished. And that's what we want to see happen with Rockalina. Somebody's sleeping right here. Figured I'd show you guys one more of these. We've got a bunch of them here in our reptile building. This is the African pancake tortoise habitat, and the backdrop is the African savanna, and we built off that with fake rocks made by a company called Universal Rocks. The pancake tortoises are a species that can inflate their bodies because they are flat and they have pliable shells. So what they do is, when they get spooked in nature or even in captive management, they can run into the rock crevices, expand their bodies, and nothing can really pull them out. But you can see this little girl right here doesn't really fear me much. She is just kind of hanging out and probably waiting for a meal. And this is another cohab environment that these tortoises share with another African reptile, which is a Eurymastix. Eurymastix make great enclosure mates for a lot of different tortoises because they have very similar needs. They eat the same things, they require basking areas, full spectrum lighting, and an arid type environment just like the African pancake does, and they stay out of each other's way except for sometimes basking together. All right, so onto Rockalina's enclosure and how we did it. The first thing that had to go in was the substrate, and I did a combination of a soil, sand, and carbon mix with also some peat moss, and then some cypress mulch, because the whole objective here is that we wanted to have softness to it, but also abrasiveness to it, because we want to correct her nails if we can, and we just overall want her to take on more of a natural appearance and be able to behave more like a natural box turtle. Because no matter how much time this turtle has spent around humans, she has instinct. She is a box turtle with box turtle needs. So once I got that substrate in there, of course, I recessed a water dish that was perfect for her to be able to get in and out of, and of course, wade in. Box turtles absolutely need water, and if she was more like some of the other box turtles here, she would actually have her own pond, because they really do need to be in it. This way, she can get out of it easily, but she can also work to get out of it. We want her to continue building muscle and never suffer from any kind of atrophy, and that is one of the things that can enable some exercise for her. After that, one of our favorite things to do is, of course, add furniture, decor in the form of logs or driftwood. And one of the things I wanted to do was add a fake log hide that she could go into. She can access it through the back and get out the same way, but she could stick her head through two different holes that are in it. And this happens to be Otis, the eastern box turtle's absolute favorite place to hide in his enclosure. So I just had to get Rockalina one because it looks natural and it works perfect for giving them some security. Then I added some driftwood, logs, and also cork bark to try to bring that forest to life a little bit and to give her visual barriers. She doesn't need to have just a wide open space. She needs to be able to move around things, hide behind them, or bask against them. Those are the things that box turtles do in the wild, and they utilize all those fallen logs and branches on a forest floor. Next up was the plants, and this is what really starts to add life to an indoor enclosure. You just get fun, creative, and strategic with it, and try to put yourself in the animal's point of view. Picture yourself on the forest floor and what things would look like in front of you, behind you, and above you, and that's what we do. This is what Casey and I do best, is designing these enclosures both indoors and out to try to make it interesting for the animals, because I can't say it enough time, enrichment is so important for quality of life, even when it comes to turtles. The one truly natural element that we absolutely wanted to add to this enclosure was natural pine litter and leaf litter from outdoors right here in the coastal areas of the New Jersey Pine Barrens, because this is actually where box turtles are found, where they naturally occur, and this is the kind of stuff that really sets the stage for making something natural for them. She can hide under this, she can burrow, she can search for invertebrates, because we're of course going to release some little bugs and worms in there for her to eat, and it just all around looks just like it would on the forest floor anywhere throughout the eastern box turtles range. So super excited for how this came out. Love doing this, never gets old, and this enclosure is 7 feet long. Now, while that might sound like a lot to you guys, when it comes to box turtles, they really should have more room than that. But because Rockalina is special needs and because we have to continue keeping such a close eye on her, we don't want to go too big. The ultimate goal is to hopefully be able to get her outside into a protected pen where she can live by herself in the natural elements, because you cannot replicate natural elements indoors. You can get close and you can definitely keep an animal healthy and happy, but if we can get her out there, we're absolutely going to do it. But for now, it's going to be so exciting to see her in something like this. She's got the full spectrum lighting. We're going to give her a day and a night cycle and the right temperatures. And now the only thing left to do is for us to put Rockalina in there. So let's do that. All right, guys, here she is, our little lady. After 50 years of living on someone's kitchen floor and eating cat food, she is for the first time going to experience what a forest floor actually feels like. I have high hopes for you, Rockalina. I really, really do. Her recovery story in just 1 month has been nothing short of epic. This animal looked nothing like this. She couldn't even open her eyes when we first brought her home. She's just made leaps and bounds. It's truly an emotional, remarkable story and a huge win for wildlife, because her story has really reached a wide audience, and I hope people continue to share it so that people know what not to do when it comes to box turtles and other wildlife. So what do you say? Are you ready? I think you're ready. You've certainly paid your dues. All right. She's like, what? She doesn't know what to make of this. These are all things that she probably does not remember seeing all those years ago when she was first taken out of the wild. But here she goes, she's starting to move around now. I already like what I'm seeing, the way she's getting around on this natural substrate. The smells, the sights, all things that are associated with box turtles and mid-Atlantic or northeastern forest floor. She's already burrowing. Look at this. She's already burrowing. She's already surprising me. She's already burrowing down into the forest substrate, and I am just so excited to see how she utilizes this whole thing. She's gonna have the warmth, she's gonna have the day and night cycle, she's gonna have the humidity, the proper diet. Rockalina is a survivor, and Casey and I wanna thank all of you. Just an unbelievable amount of support. This is not the last you're gonna see of this turtle. We are going to continue updating you guys, but hey, we are almost into spring. So you're not gonna just be seeing what's going on in here. We're gonna be getting outside too.